Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavai, Tejasvinavaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And we'll share the screen. June 18th in Asia. Our first topic, we are still answering questions sent in to satsang@hindu.org and still working on this three-part question. What are the important goals of the Purusha in relationship to Lord Ganesha's box of Dharma? Salvation from the abyss. Lord Murugan's transformance of ignorance to the divine, and Lord Shiva's loving dance of reality. So we started the answer with the 5 shaktis and then the 6th, 7th, 8th shakti. So we're going to review the 5 shaktis quickly. For anyone who wasn't present, it's important to have that knowledge. So this is the short explanation. First shakti, yellow in color, is love and harmony within the home. Home means everybody living in the same building. Second shakti, sapphire blue in color, is the same feeling but extended to relatives, neighbors, and friends who are all part of the extended family, not living in the building. Third shakti, ruby red in color, is the same love extended to all persons one has dealings with in the external world. Fourth shakti, emerald green in color, is the love of culture and religion. And the 5th shakti, orange in color, is love of God Shiva and the gods of Saivism. That's our quick review. Then we get the abyss. What is the abyss? It is the way of our Dharma and the fate of those who neglect religious practices or fall from any vows they may have taken along the way. There are 5 abysses, and they are the exact opposites in vibration to the first 5 shaktis, so carefully guarded by Lord Ganesha. So opposite to what we just looked at. So for example, harmony in the home would be disharmony in the home. Conditions within the home, fighting and squabbling among those who are near and dear to each other. This makes strong samskaras, or scars, in the subconscious mind and begins to create a subconscious that opposes any kind of furtherance of religious life. The first, therefore, is the deepest abyss and the most difficult to rise out of. Said another way, spiritual progress is not possible if one expresses devotion at the temple, but then comes home and expresses anger to family members. So we know some teenagers a decade or 2 ago who expressed dismay that their father was the most devout person in the world at the temple, but he'd come home and yell at them. They didn't like that. So we're not supposed to do that. However we act at the temple is how we should act at home. Second abyss is inharmonious conditions and misunderstandings allowed to exist without apology, recompense, or forgiveness between acquaintances, friends, and relatives not living in the immediate home. Third abyss is that of worry and trouble. The courts of law handle this one. The collection agencies and displeased customers, lack of courtesy in business affairs, the borrowing and the lending of money, all together throw their power into making a luscious, comfortable, luxurious abyss of inharmonious conditions within the business world. So the easiest way to get things upset is to borrow more money than you can repay on time. We want to avoid that. Fourth abyss is the most treacherous one, and even though some may have avoided falling in the first 3, they may still find themselves in this one, turning their back on culture, scholarship, serious literature and philosophy, despising music, art, drama, and the dance, ridiculing religious people and their practices, content with the libertine, dull, drab life of material things. So you may know some people like that. not interested in religion. The fifth abyss is the dismal condition one experiences when devoid of the childlike spontaneity of spiritual giving, worship, and religious service. When this abyss grips and shrouds the soul, it is the negative vibration felt by the person who feels nothing when he goes to the temple, sees the deity as a piece of stone or metal, and who observes and faults those around him. So those are the abysses, and we don't want to end up in those. In Gurudeva's teachings, we stay out of the abysses by closing off the lower chakras. That's the key that the question is asking for. How do we stay out of the abysses? The lower chakra of anger is particularly important to close off, as it easily leads to living in the abysses. Dhudamandaram 1444 places controlling anger at the first level of practice, which of course, as we know, is Charyapada and Saivasiddhanta. And it reads, Seyikadai Nesa Shivapusayame. Tom Alexifan Khan defines Seyir as anger, rage, same as kopam. Thus, the literal translation of the line is adoration that displaces anger is Charya worship. We looked at that last week. And the longer explanation of the verse from Sabaratnam Shivacharya, the worship of Shiva pertaining to the Charya path is to be with pure and spontaneous love, which wards off anger, lust, and other such vices, and which renders fitness to the devotees to do services without expecting any benefit or reward. Nicely said. In Living with Shiva Lesson 272, Gurudeva offers some important insights into closing off the lower chakras. Ahimsa, non-hurtfulness, is the essence of Dharma, and the Muladhara chakra sets the pattern of Dharma. The Muladhara chakra is a very interesting chakra because it is the base center of energy and consciousness is energy, ever creating, preserving, and absorbing. Karma is the self-perpetuating principle of cause and effect, shaping our experiences as a result of how we use our energies, mentally, verbally, or physically. It's nicely put. So once we narrow down the individual awareness from freedom without responsibility, which is the lower nature, into the consciousness of freedom with responsibility, which is the higher nature, the individual awareness or consciousness must pass through the portals of the Muladhara chakra and rest comfortably within the energies of its four petals. Four petals, of course, form a square, three-dimensionally. Two squares put together with a space between can well be defined as a box. This box is defined as Dharma. Briefly, at this point on the path to enlightenment, we put our cumulative karmas into a box called Dharma. Once encased within Dharma, the various karmas may fight each other. As the individual progresses on the path, the box lightens and rises. The box of Dharma is the base from which the aspirant must live at this point. Oh, that's a very nice image. We put all our karmas in the box, and by following dharmic principles and handling them, such as not retaliating, they all work out and they lighten. The box lightens and rises. Gurudeva continues, strictly contained, he may rise through the hole in the top of the box in consciousness, or open a hole in the bottom of the box and seek freedom without responsibility in the world of darkness. To seek freedom in the chakras above is the Sanmarga. To seal off the hole at the bottom of the box is his sadhana, penitent tapas, japa, bhakti, and shivatondra, all of which eloquently are explained in Merging with Shiva. So we know if we've gone through the bottom of the box, if we go into fear. And then below fear is anger. Serious anger, not just a sharp word. Who holds the lid on the box? Community. Community pressure is both religious and secular. There are certain things that you can do and certain things you can't do. So being a part of a religious community helps stay in the box. That's the end of Gurudeva's quote. Let's see what else we have. Back to our box of Dharma, as was mentioned at the beginning of the pub desk, climbing the ladder of consciousness. The core teaching of all the major religions is to provide guidance to human beings so that in pursuing their natural ambitions to achieve wealth and love, they do so in a manner that adheres to virtuous and dutiful living. In other words, all religions provide a means to live within the box of Dharma. And we had the first verse in Avayar's Attitude. As we know, Adam Saya Virumbu is the verse, which means desire to fulfill Dharma. So it needs to begin with the first letter of the alphabet, A. And there's another writing that relates to the box of Dharma and free will, which is in Loving Ganesha, which helps explain the point, staying out of the abyss. Seekers of truth come from many backgrounds, many religions, and have trod many paths. Having become acquainted with Lord Ganesha, they may wonder how their past can participate in their present aspirations. What am I doing worshiping an elephant-faced god and loving it? They may wonder. What do I do now to harmonize this unfoldment with my previous upbringing? That's our Gurudeva Ganesha there, if anyone doesn't know. There is a way to reconcile this subconscious dilemma. Let's not pack it away in denial, as they say. Let's face up to the spiritual awakening. Truth is, you have a loving friend in Ganesha, who, if we may use the word, is the Pope of the Hindu religion. And you are by no means alone. 1/4 of the human race is acquainted with Ganesha. 25% of the people on this planet. At this time when he wrote that, 1.25 billion, and that number is growing year by year. Our loving Ganesha leads his devotees deep into the oldest religion on planet Earth. There are two ways to come into Hinduism. One is to be born into the Hindu religion and be carried in your mother's arms to the temple, there to be inwardly and psychically connected to our loving God, Ganesha. So strong are those early impressions and samskars that they carry you through life. Nice picture. Another way is to unfold naturally to the point of being ready to formally enter Hinduism, to supplicate sincerely and treat the guard that immense and ancient tradition. You have to want to be a Hindu so strongly, so sincerely, that Lord Ganesha lifts you out of the fog of the materialistic conscious mind, establishing a connection and a relationship with you. This is a personal relationship with the deity. There is nobody in between, just you and the God, Lord Ganesha. So that's an important point in Hinduism for anyone exposed to other religions. There's nobody in between. In Catholicism, for example, the priest is definitely in between you and God. In Hinduism, we have a priest, but the priest doesn't stand between you and God. The priest is also the servant of the God. He's just doing something different. But you relate directly to the deity in Hinduism. It's like being adopted in a way. If you were an orphan or abandoned on the streets of Sao Paulo or Chennai or on the streets of whatever there are little kids running around, you would be free. You could go through life listening to no one and exercising unrestricted free will, free instinctive will. If you had a developed intellect, then you could exercise an intellectual will. Or you could do anything that you wanted to do, absolutely anything. Of course, you would find that as you attempted to fulfill your desires, you were limited, sometimes prevented by the natural forces within and without. But you could attempt anything. If you were fortunate enough, foster parents might come along to help you. They would adopt you and take you into their home. Your new mother would begin to lovingly guide and direct your life. You are a part of their family now, and your well-being, your education, your training, all now come under their will, to which you must adjust yourself and obey. They will watch over you and discipline you morning and night. They will protect you from getting into trouble with your free will. The modern concept of freedom leads to the darker chakras below the Muladhara chakra. Anguish is there. It is the same when you evolve a relationship, a personal relationship with the deity Lord Ganesha. He will not allow you to use your free will to get into difficulties. Guiding you carefully and protecting you along your way on your natural karma through life is his concern. Someone once said, I worship Lord Ganesha, I worship Lord Murugan, but I've never really gotten acquainted with Lord Ganesha. I responded, I being Gurudeva, you worship Shiva and Lord Murugan, and that is wonderful, but unless you have established a personal relationship with Lord Ganesha, your worship any of the gods is probably more according to your own thoughts and fancy than true worship. That's Gurudeva, outspoken there. Till you have established a rapport with Lord Ganesha, you cannot establish a relationship with Krishna, Ayappan, Amman, Vishnu, Rama, Hanuman, Lakshmi, Sita, Radharani, Shiva, or Murugan outside of your own limited concepts. It is Ganesha who introduces you to the millions of gods of the Hindu pantheon, no one else. That is the way it works. Thank you, Gurudeva. Yes, little by little, slowly, imperceptibly, a relationship evolves, a very personal, loving relationship between the devotee and the elephant-faced god. Psychic protection is granted. Physical protection, mental and emotional protection are all granted as boons by him. He will not allow his devotees to use their free instinctive willfulness to make more negative karma by getting into difficulties. Rather, he will guide them carefully, protecting them every moment along the way so that their natural birth karmas may be worked through and good karma created by right living. This is his main concern. Lord Ganesha loves and cares for his devotees. Once the devotee is connected to him through the awakening of the Muladhara chakra, loneliness is never experienced. Ganesha is truly a wonderful, loving God. He has an extraordinary knack for unweaving complicated situations and making them simple. He can unweave his devotees from their karma, simplifying and purifying their lives. But this only happens after they have established a personal relationship with him. Soon thereafter, changes begin to happen in their lives, and when they go through difficult times, they no longer become angry or live in fear or worry. When difficult times come, they know it is because they are being unwound from accumulated and congested difficult karmas, or being turned in a new direction altogether. They know that at such a time they have to consciously surrender their free instinctive willfulness and not fight the divine happenings, but allow the God's divine will to guide their life. Such is the spiritual path of total surrender, known as prapatti. So that can be a challenge. It's like a small child is determined to do something one way, and the mother's determined he's going to do it another way. Eventually the mother's going to win out. And back to our question. Lord Murugan's transformation of ignorance to the divine. So we have a shorter answer for that. It's very simple. What we have noticed with our Murugan Murti in Kaudava temple, which that's a photo of, is that the Shakti emanating from the deity is much stronger on his annual festival days. So this is 2019 Taipusam. Abhishekam was lengthy. And that's a lot of yogurt there, nicely poured. So we have arranged group pilgrimage to India and Sri Lanka since 1969, and some pilgrims on various programs had life-changing visions of Lord Murugan, as well as other deities. Such visions, born of the intensity of pilgrimage and inner striving, would often come in the form of the stone or bronze murti moving and smiling at them, or turning into an animated human-like figure. Some devotees with their eyes closed inwardly saw the deity's face, as real as any living being. Though occasionally a devotee may have a vision of the deity, the more common way we experience him is as uplifting, peaceful, divine energy or Shakti that radiates out from the image. These blessings of the deity are called Sanidhya and refer to the radiance and blessed presence of Shakti in and around the temple. Some of Gurudeva's writings, he also refers to these blessings as the darshan of the deity. It's easiest to feel these blessings at the high point of the puja when the flame is held high and the bells ring the loudest. This is because during the culminating arati, the deity and his helpers or devas reflect back the prana they have received through offerings into the aura of each devotee, purifying it of subconscious congestions. So that's, of course, the basic point, as we know. Puja is bidirectional in terms of energy, devotion. So most of it, we're giving energy, prana, devotion to the deity, and then during the high points, such as when the flame is held high, the deity is giving all that back and purifying us and uplifting us. The devotee so blessed leaves feeling uplifted and relieved of mental burdens. And the analogy, experiencing the sun. If we go outside on a sunny day and close, we can sky, and in that way experience the sun. This is similar to what happens in the temple. Our inner or spiritual eye, the third eye, is not open, so we don't see the deity. However, we can feel in our nervous system the spiritual energy that radiates out from the Murti, and in that way experience the deity. So we do it through our feeling nature. When in this way Lord Murugan's blessings come into our life, our ignorance is transformed into the divine. And of course, what's implied from the beginning slide is at least in Kadavol, and must be true in some other Murugan temples as well, this works much better on the annual festival days. The shakti of the deity is much stronger. Second topic's an interesting one. Again, question satsang@hindu.org. Anonymous question. I understood almost nothing emerging with Shiva Lessons 50 and 51. Could you please explain in simpler terms? So we'll try 50 today. Gurudeva describes various theories about reincarnation. Gurudeva is simply listing the major theories he is aware of. Some theories contradict other theories, and to the reader this can be confusing. Also, the theories aren't presented in any logical order. So to make it easier to understand, I'm just taking the main ideas and presenting them in what I consider a logical order. Note always what's on the blue line there. So this is our first main idea, which has multiple parts. When man dies, he goes on to the astral plane after breaking the silver cord which binds him to the physical body. During out-of-the-body experiences, this silver cord is often seen as a cord of light connecting the physical, astral, and spiritual bodies. When awareness leaves the physical body, it passes through one of the chakras. If our life has been one of baser emotion and reason, we would exit through one of the chakras near the base of the spine, either the Muladhara or Swadhisthana, and begin a conscious existence on a lower astral plane. And then this next one, I'm not putting the text on the screen, it's a bit long. From there, we would work out various experiences or reactionary conditions caused by congested mental and emotional forces which impressed our subconscious mind during the course of our lifetime. On the astral plane, we relive many experiences by reactivating them, creating for ourselves heavens or hells. When the lessons of that life have been learned and the reactions resolved, we would be drawn back into a family, into a new physical body, in order to gain more experience in the light of the new knowledge acquired while on the astral plane. So that's kind of the lowest level of experience there. We're just working out the reactionary conditions that we didn't resolve when we were alive. Oh, now, main idea part 2. If we have evolved to the point that our life was one of service, understanding, and love, then we would exit through the next higher chakras. For that is where awareness has been polarized, and our astral experience would be of a deeper, more refined nature. So that's the second level of experience for someone who's lived a more refined life. And this is, instead of just working through reactions, we're actually learning new things. Gurudeva says, going to school, learning new technologies, new approaches to life, etc. So that's main idea part 2. Then we get main idea part 3. However, if we had discovered and practiced a dedicated spiritual life, then our exit would be through the top 2 chakras. Which do not lead awareness of divine existence, never to reincarnate again into the physical world. And there's more text I didn't put in the slide. After Nirvikalpa Samadhi is attained and perfected so that the Mahayogi can go into it at will, he leaves the body consciously through the door of Brahman, center of the Saraswara chakra. Depends on whether or not the golden actinic causal body, which has been developed after self-realization, is mature enough to travel in actinic force fields on its own. So for someone to achieve this requires a lot of deep samadhi before the transition. You know, those are it's the main idea, 3 parts, 3 different experiences in between lives based upon how you lived your life, which determines which chakras you exit from. Now we get a couple of secondary ideas. When something is destroyed through fire on the physical plane, whether animate or inanimate, it will be found again on the astral plane, such as burning a prayer. For example, when an Indian brave died, this is an American Indian, his saddle, clothing, and valuables were buried and sometimes burned along with his body so that he might continue using these possessions to live well on the inner astral plane. So, giving him his possessions is American Indian old tradition. But you find it also in other traditions where they burn different objects, wanting the person to have them in the inner planes, which they will. Secondary idea. When the elements of the physical body are kept intact and not allowed to decompose, the departed may remain consciously on the astral, mental, or spiritual plane for as long as he wants. Contact can even be maintained on the physical plane through these laws. However, as soon as the physical body begins to disintegrate, awareness is polarized once again and pulled back to the lower chakras and the physical plane. Gurudeva mentions the ancient example of the Egyptians and preserving the body as a mummy. And in our own Hindu traditions, in some traditions, the guru is buried with the idea of preserving the body as long as possible. And that way it's easy for the guru to contact the devotees. Advanced yogic options number 1. When one passes from the physical body through the will, cognition, or universal love chakras, he comes into a different reincarnation law. He is then living on 2 planes at the same time, and according to this theory, would have representative bodies on both planes. And more text that I didn't put in the slide. His evolution on the physical plane would be quick, since his only physical conscious expression would be a small animal, perhaps a little bird or cat, or some extremely sensitive animal. This creature would represent and polarize the advanced soul's instinctive mind on the physical plane, while he evolved at an accelerated pace on vast inner planes. This dual existence would continue until such time as the process of reincarnation was intensified. The vibration of the earth was strong enough in his mind to pull awareness back dynamically to another human life. So for someone to do this, they have to be a really advanced yogi. It's the kind of practice you see mentioned in the Siddhas, the powers in the Yoga Sutras. An ordinary person can't do this. That's why we're calling it advanced yogic options. Advanced yogic options number 2. When an advanced soul leaves the body through the brow chakra or third eye, he enters a highly refined force field. At this point, he does not have to reincarnate as an infant, but could take an already well-matured physical body. Interesting idea. Saves some time. In such a case, the soul inhabiting the body would have karmically ended this life and be involved in the reincarnation process, either dead or preparing to die. Advanced yogi would flow his awareness into the nerve system of the body, revitalizing it with the spark of his will, and consciously bring it back to life. This practice is exercised only by souls who have sufficient mastery of the inner forces to leave consciously through the ajna chakra at death. Those who leave through that fourth center unconsciously would then reincarnate as an infant. Oh, thank you very much. Very interesting material. I hope that was helpful in understanding it. Oh.